What's up, everybody? My name is Brandon Clements. This is something new today. We're going to start a new kind of series in Dead Dialect where we're going to start doing breakdowns of nerdy stuff. It's the easiest way to put it. Whether it's a movie, whether it's comic books, games, we would like to just sit down and break these things down because we do it anyway, and why not just film it and put it up on YouTube? It's not always going to be me and Julian. Sometimes it's just going to be me. Sometimes it's going to be me and another person. Most of the time, it will be me and another person, and most of the time, that other person will be a special guest. And today, my special guest is someone that's been on the show many, many times, and is a good friend of mine and a huge Star Wars nerd himself, Mr. Local musician, local hero rapper, Timothy Guilla Russell. How are you? You doing okay?
I'm doing splendid, sir.
You look fantastic, by the way, in that jacket.
Thank you, man.
It's insane. Who made your jacket again?
Yeah, shout out Jay Garcia. Fuck Jay Garcia. That's his Instagram.
I mean, is it like all painted on there?
Yeah, he hand paints these.
And then the wolf shirt. I love how none of us decided to wear Star Wars stuff for our Star Wars breakdown today.
This shirt actually used to be gray, and my inner spirit animal decided to come out onto the shirt. One of my spirit animals. My spirit animal is actually a snow monkey.
Naturally manifested on the shirt. So today, I mean, I know when the movie first came out, I think you texted me the day after, like, look, let's talk about it. We got to talk.
We had to talk. And
I was like, look, let's do it. Let's do it on a thing. Make a video of it. And I didn't know that it would be part of a new series. So this is exciting that you're kind of the first guest on this new breakdown thing that we're doing. But we're going to get really hard.
I'm honored.
Into Last Jedi.
Okay.
And also a little bit into Battlefront, which I don't know if you played.
I have not actually.
You have not? Okay.
No.
Well, we'll get into it. Obviously, there's going to be spoilers throughout this entire video. Another thing we might want to mention is that we do have another guest today. It's not just me and Mr. Guilla here. And this guest is kind of, I mean, you could argue the head in terms of Star Wars knowledge. This is the guy that literally StarWars.com will like call up. I think he just did something like just did some trivia show like just a couple weeks ago with Sam Witwer, of course, who played Star Killer and which Star Wars legend, does the voice of Darth Maul. I mean, this dude is like, and also a huge Star Wars nerd himself. Anyway, our guest for today, our second guest, is Mr. Alex Damon, who is also, who is the owner of Star Wars Explained YouTube channel, which is
legit.
Dude, I mean, you talk about like a news source / I mean, basically what we're doing right now, breaking things down, but in a way better, more professional way. This is a guy who started off making profiles of characters and then grew into profiles of planets. Then entire, like, he would just detail entire story arcs. Basically anything you want to find out about Star Wars. Anything. Whether it's a character, just something that happened in the background real quick. Alex is your resource for that. And I think he's like coming close to about 500,000 subscribers now on YouTube, which is insane. Like that's like what people strive for. So I'm super excited to have him on. This is actually his second time on the show. The first time we did right after Force Awakens. So it's cool that we're doing this after Last Jedi. So what we're going to do is give him a call, and we come back. We're going to be here with Alex, and you and I are going to break down Last Jedi and some Star Wars stuff, and probably get really heated with each other too. Because I know we have some disagreements on it.
You get heated.
I do get heated. It didn't take a lot for me. All right. First of all, thanks for doing this, man. I know that I'm sorry for keeping you waiting too. We had some sound issues on our end, but we figured it out. But yeah, thank you for coming and talk to us. Thank you for coming in via Skype. I know you're a busy dude. You just released. How many videos did you release just today? By the way,
today was just one.
Just one. Okay. Well, it seems like you're doing more than what, 2 or 3 a day sometimes. Like it's like your content has become so frequent that I can't even really keep up anymore, man. It's insane.
It's usually one a day. It's sometimes 2 will pop up, like if we get a trailer that drops or just some news happens, then I'll do another video. I try to keep it at 1 a day, or else I'd go completely insane.
Well, dude, I don't know if you remember the first time we talked. I was one of the first 1,000 subscribers to your channel because I was one of the Wikipedia dudes, like early in the day when I was like 8 years old, waking up, reading Wikipedia, learning all I could. And your channel was kind of the successor for, you know, the encyclopedia of Star Wars for me. It was a funner way of doing it. I could watch things, have it, you know, played out, talked through to me. It's been so exciting watching it blow up. Like, I think you're, coming to 500,000 subscribers now?
Yeah, we just broke 400 last month.
God. Wow. I mean, that is absolutely... I remember seeing it 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. I remember your 5,000 subscriber video. So just before we get too far into things, just congratulations on all the success, because you've been working your ass off and doing this for a couple of years now, and it's tremendous work. There's a reason it's coming to you, and yeah, man, it's just been exciting to watch. It really has.
Well, thank you.
What have been some highlights? Because you've been, I think we mentioned it, I probably butchered what happened, but I think just a couple months ago you took place in some YouTube trivia show with Sam Witwer, and like, I know you've had some crazy exciting stuff happen. So can you give us some just highlights of what's happened as this channel has grown and as you've progressed throughout this?
Yeah, that's definitely one that's fresh in my mind. I have been a fan of the guys at Collider and Collider Jedi Council, and they have the trivia show is called the Schmodown, and they have like a wrestling spin on it where there is like a legitimate like trivia contest that is hard, but then they also, everyone kind of plays a character where some are good guys and some are bad guys, and they have like ongoing storylines. But I always loved how Christian Harloff, who does it all, he has to prepare for whoever wins, because the actual contest is not scripted, but in the event that anybody wins, they have to be ready for either way. So like when I went, it was me and 4 other people, and he had to have 4 storylines ready to go, depending on who was going to win. And so he like briefed us all beforehand. They were like, okay, if you win, this is what we're going to do with you and Ken. And then they went to Joseph Scrimshaw, and if you win, this is what we're going to do. And so we were all ready for that. But yeah, so I got to see the Schmodown live at Star Wars Celebration.
Wow.
I met like Ken, who he actually won the Star Wars belt at Celebration, and me and I love Ken. I think he's great. So I was hoping I'd get to face him, but Sam beat me out because that guy has those movies just memorized.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like quotes are my weakness, I now know. So I need to just memorize the movies.
Yeah, he's an interesting one because he's as big of a fan. Well, he's a huge fan, obviously, but he's also a part of the universe. Like, he literally he's played characters, so and normally you don't get that at the same time. Like, sometimes they're fans and they they know some things, but that guy has like an encyclopedic knowledge of it.
I think people kind of thought the first time he showed up, they were like, it was him and Freddie Prinze Jr., I think, and they were like, oh, they just had him on because they're in Rebels and this will be fun. And then Sam just like no one was expecting that level of knowledge from Sam, so. He is the guy to be afraid of. Yeah.
So other than the
he's so nice.
Other than that, what are some of the things? Because I mean, you've done so much exciting stuff. This is even had you traveling, man. Like, I've seen that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we got to go to a few Battlefront events. We got to go to EA Play and play Battlefront 2 there. They had us out in November, actually, the week before we went to do the Schmodown. We went out and got to play Battlefront and kind of prep for all that. We got to play through the campaign early.
Nice.
I think Star Wars Celebration, that was the first time I had ever gone, and that to me is probably my highlight for the channel last year. Just being surrounded by so many people that love Star Wars, and I mean, it was also pretty cool to be recognized, because like I'm not going to get recognized anywhere else in the world, but there people are like, oh my gosh, it's you, and I'm like, oh.
That's awesome, man. That's great. Well, again, just congrats on everything. It's been really exciting to watch, and I still like 90% of what I watch on YouTube. And you can ask Julian, is your channel, man. Just learning, and I always I agree with about 95% of what you say, which I cannot say about any other channel, because sometimes I'll agree with what they said and they'll go off on a Snoke theory, and I'm like, oh well, now I'm darting out. So I like that. That's why I stick with you. With that, let's get into The Last Jedi, because there's a lot of things I want to go over, and I've got bullet points here, so we'll try to keep it structured. But once again, there are going to be spoilers, obviously. So just I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to ask you as well, Guilla, and then I'll talk myself. But first, you, Alex, let's just go over, and we're going to get more into characters and a little more in depth. But let's just talk scenes right now, even if it's just sequences. I want to go over what some of your favorite scenes or sequences out of the film were. Throne
Room, hands down.
Right.
That I'll say, excuse me, coming over a cold here, so I can cough in every once in a
Oh,
while.
me too.
But I remember being in the theater, and I was a little bit nervous about how it was going for about the first half, and then the second half just like kicked into high gear, and it didn't let go. And the throne room was kind of the start of that for me. Yes, I think Kylo Ren might be he's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. So seeing him dealing with like, what are you gonna do right now? Are you gonna kill Rey? And I thought it was either gonna be either kill Rey or don't, and deal with those consequences. I never ever would have guessed that the answer would be kill Snoke.
Kill Snoke, right?
Yeah, like I cheered in the theater because it caught me so off guard, and it was like I didn't know I wanted this, but I really, really did. And then that entire fight sequence might be my favorite lightsaber fight in Star Wars.
I think I agree with you. Yeah, it was so well choreographed and so well shot. I don't even know that you could argue that there's like maybe episode 1, lightsaber battle's a close second, but just out of like, it was just so beautifully done. When it opened up into that slow-mo and then they just started just ripping everyone, and it was brutal.
Oh yeah,
it was brutal. There was no pacifist. Like she wasn't just force pushing him into walls. She was like murking them, taking their legs out, and it was great. So okay, yeah, the throne room scene, I totally agree with you. It was amazing. Any other ones that stick out? I mean, obviously there's a lot in this movie. There's some high highs, some low lows, but what are some other highs for you that really stuck out?
I mean, I didn't know what to think of it the first time I saw it, but the more and more I think about it, I really love Luke's last scene and how they handled that. And it, like, I guess we all wanted Luke to come back and actually fight, but so the fact that he did something through the Force that was like just impossible, that he made himself into the legend that the galaxy wanted him to be through this completely unexpected thing. I really, really like that. And the first time I saw it, I was confused, and I was like, I don't know how to feel about it.
I'm not ready for this.
I was not ready for Luke to die. I feel like he's going to be back as a Force ghost.
Absolutely.
I'd be surprised if he's not, but I wasn't ready for him to become one with the Force, and like all of that was shocking to me. But yeah, what they were going for, I really think it was great.
Yeah, I just don't think I was ready for it. I was just, when it happened, I was like, oh no, is this coming? Is this happening? And then when he just kind of withered away, I was like, oh man. And it took a while to sit with me, but then I realized how kind of perfect and poetic the whole thing was. And like, even with the Legends of Luke Skywalker book coming out, all of a sudden he kind of, matches a lot of those legends in a way that he never had before. And it was just kind of amazing, but it took me a little while to get there. So I totally agree.
It's funny that book was like part of the Journey to Last Jedi series and all, and I read it and I was like, it's okay. Like some of the stories are goofy, but it just didn't dawn on me that thematically it would be so important.
They planted a lot of seeds. They're really getting good at planting those seeds. How about you, Guilla? What are some scenes that stuck out? Maybe that he said or that he didn't say already.
That stuck out.
Yeah, that you really liked, that you enjoyed.
First off, I'm gonna go ahead and say that I didn't like the movie. I'm one of those.
How dare you? We're gonna get into that later. Can you be positive for a second? For
a second, I get the throne room fight. I
don't know why I invited you.
Yes. The throne room fight was actually. You know what? The space battle. I did like.
Which one? Like
the first one. The one with
the opening scene.
No. The one where Homegirl drops the bombs.
So Paige's, was that not the opening scene?
Was that the opening scene?
Yeah.
I only saw it once.
With Paige and Poe and all that. Yeah, that was a fantastic scene.
That was a dope scene.
Okay, well, moving on from you. I think I agree with everything you guys said, though I think all those scenes hit. I really loved Luke and Kylo's battle. I loved the pacifist resistance that you got from Luke, that they never even touched sabers. I think for me, that's peak Luke Skywalker. One that doesn't really need to fight anybody.
I didn't think about that. That's pretty cool.
Pacifist Luke. It was. I love that. So that for me really stuck out, and I thought that was amazing because a lot of people were expecting an epic battle. We didn't really get that, but what we got was great for me. And we're going to go over this more, but for me, the theme of the movie was kind of just left field themes. Making you think one thing was going to happen and then just hitting you with another.
Yeah.
And I wanted that. I wanted to be surprised going into this film. So the fact that I was really exciting. Anything you want to add before we move on to the next topic, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, what you said about the pacifist Luke is, I think that they were very. So many people say that, oh, they're just like throwing what George Lucas thought away, but like I disagree completely. I mean, the argument is that the most Jedi thing Luke ever did was throw his lightsaber away at the end of Return of the Jedi. So if he picked it up to fight his nephew now, like that kind of goes against things. And I'm sure we'll get into this, but a lot of people have a problem with him having a very fleeting moment of maybe I should kill my nephew, which I have a lot of thoughts about that. But I think that kind of Luke strayed away, but then he came back at the end. And yeah, I really liked that lightsaber fight and that confrontation. And I just don't know that he even would have survived an epic fight. Like everyone, I guess, wanted Luke to come back and be amazing and take down the First Order and literally be there. But like the Force isn't it's not going to make him immortal.
Right.
He probably would have died. And what he did, I think, was much, much cooler.
That's a really good point.
And like Yoda said, a Jedi never uses the Force for attack. So he used it in this pacifist way to buy time. Yeah, I love that. And also to jump back to the throne room, I really like that the actual lightsaber fight we got. I love the choreography in episode 1 and in episode 3, but it just seems like, it goes on forever and they don't really tire out. I really like the way they handled, especially Kylo. Like, he looked like he was getting worn out by the end.
Yeah,
and that was not an easy fight. I like the way that they're handling lightsaber fights in the sequel trilogy period. I got the same kind of vibe in The Force Awakens. Damn,
that's something I have not thought about because I really... Oh, what, Guilla?
I don't like it.
What would you prefer? Do you want it to be fat? I mean,
they're not on planet Earth. I mean, the rules are different. They don't have to.
So you want a little more of that,
I want a little bit more. Yeah, I'm weird. I actually really liked episode 2. And a lot of people, I love lightsaber battles.
I like the prequel trilogy.
A lot of people don't like oh, you like episode 2?
I do think it's messy though. I think there's a little too much sometimes, especially when you think about like there's like 50 lightsabers on screen sometimes.
That's sick. I love that.
Yeah. Look, obviously Star Wars is one of those things that there's a lot of to each his own, elements in it.
Absolutely.
But can you not agree that they're not quite Jedi yet. They're I like that they are tiring. I think that's a good point, Alex. Yeah. I like that they seem more human. It makes them more relatable to me to see them wear out at the end of the fight. And I like that. Anyway, I'm going to move on.
Cool.
And I'm going to start this one out because I do have something I'm going to bring up directly to Alex because this is something that you released today. So I'm going to go into some of the scenes that didn't work. And I know you have a lot of these, Guilla, but some of the sequences or scenes that didn't work, and I'll start this off, and I'm sure this is easy, but I think the entire just Canto Bight scene for me was very unnecessary. Definitely. And even the sequences that we did get, I didn't quite enjoy. I didn't really like the Harry Potter-esque like race through the alley. I wanted to kind of stay in the casino more. I wanted to see what that was about. I like the idea, but the execution for me didn't quite work.
The drunk alien dude.
I liked him. I thought he was hilarious.
Really?
And apparently, by the way, was voiced by Mark Hamill. But I know, Alex, you released a video today that kind of touched on that, and you seem to kind of be warming up to maybe that arc a little bit. Do you want to go into that, or?
Yeah, I mean, warming up is a good way to put it because I agree. It was my least favorite part of the movie. The whole kind of format of the movie, period, I'm not crazy about it. The fact that it took place over the course of, who knows, about a day.
A day, right?
Like. Yeah. And that it was just like a big chase sequence. I don't know. I guess the story felt kind of small to me. And then we went off to Canto Bight, and originally I was kind of like, are we only here just so we get like another cantina where there's like a room full of wacky creatures? But now that and this isn't any of my own, I figured it out. I had to read someone else's Twitter thread about it that really broke it down and explained it, made sense to me. And so I get what they were going for now, and I do really like the story of Finn going from being out there for, I guess, himself and Rey. Just like he's being very small-minded, and he's kind of learning that while that can be noble, it can also be very bad, and that he officially joins the resistance in his own mind. I do like that story. I think it was a good one to tell, but yeah, I think it could have been
the executed
better.
There was it wasn't in that scene, but it was part of that, I guess. That kind of, there was one part that did give me a little bit of chills in the movie, is when they showed the foreshadow of the kid.
I loved that.
That was really cool.
That was definitely because didn't they were there in Kantanica when he gave it to them, the kids, right?
And then at the end of the movie, they showed him again, and it was like, oh, there's still a lot of Force-sensitive children in the galaxy.
So clearly there's some good things in that arc and in that story, but somehow they just dropped the ball in the execution. It almost felt like it was just directly for kids, like this chase sequence.
Absolutely.
Like, I hated the chase sequence. I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like the way they look. I couldn't help but imagine them just on these green screen logs.
Yeah.
You know, it looks really silly to me, but I do like the story. I like the arc, what they tried for. Are there any other scenes that you didn't really care for, Alex, or you felt like didn't really, hit?
I didn't like the Luke milking the thalassite.
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
I was just like, know what, this really needed to be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could have just had him drinking milk, right? We didn't actually have to have him literally milking it.
Yeah, it was
a little gratuitous.
While I agree with the argument that Admiral Holdo doesn't need to tell Poe anything, I just, it's a pet peeve of mine when movies and their plots kind of, they rely on a lack of communication. And I said this in a Q&A video, I think, but that usually happens in like romantic comedies where just some contrived misunderstanding, where if they just sat down and said, this is what really happened, then they would be fine. But that like spreads them apart. And I felt like that was the same thing, where just like, I mean, Holdo, you don't have to tell Poe anything, but there's 400 of you left.
Right.
Like, just say, we're going to that planet right over there. Chill out. Like, all of that could have been avoided. So
you just wonder why the writers didn't go for that. Like, why they didn't, who didn't say like, hey, why doesn't she just tell him? Like, can we provide a little more, exposition into why that's not happening? Because I left the theater thinking the same thing. Like, oh, she just said something.
I mean, it got an emotion out of us, and that's what they were going for.
It's good, but it seems a little lazy. It does. It seems a little lazy.
Yeah, it just seemed a little lazy.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Guilla? What? I know you got a lot of scenes, but let's try to keep it. Give me your top. Give me your top 3, your top 2 that you really did not care for, did not hit for you. And we'll get more into characters, but let's just talk more just overall sequences and scenes that we had here.
Scenes. Okay. So going back to I didn't really enjoy the execution of Snoke.
Just in him in general, like that throne, or what do you mean?
That throne room scene was pretty cool and stuff like that. I thought it was alright with the lightsaber battle, but
just his exchanges with everybody.
Exchange with Snoke and how Snoke died really kind of pissed me off. Personally.
Well, we'll get into more of his character.
Okay, yeah, but scenes.
Just let's talk more like. I mean, if you want to, I feel like you got a lot of character stuff. We can go right into that.
Stuff. No.
We absolutely can, because that's what's next on the list.
Okay.
You want to just do that? Because if you don't have, I feel like a lot of this is going to tie into you just being like, and here's why. And we're just going to get to talking about the characters anyway.
Certainly. Yeah.
Cool. So let's do that. I'll start with you. And we're going to go character by character here, because I think that's fair. And we'll start with the big one, which is Luke Skywalker.
Yes.
How did you feel about Luke Skywalker in this movie?
The same as everyone else who was ticked off. There's a lot of people who really love Luke Skywalker and a lot of people who really didn't. And honestly, after listening to y'all talk for the last, 10 minutes we've been on the show and talking about Luke, some of my ideas have changed a little bit. And I do have more of an appreciation for him now with you saying stuff like, oh yeah, well, he was a pacifist, you know what I mean? And this and that. But like, I didn't like, initially when I left the theater, I didn't like how they made him seem so salty and how he's like, because when I was a kid, I remember watching Star Wars and I was like 3 basically and 2, you know what I mean, like from a young age, and he was always the hope, the hero, and in my mind for the last 29 years, Luke has been this representation for me as like like the hope, and then they kind of just stripped that away from him.
But do you not think that he became that again in the end? I mean, that he redeemed himself in a lot of ways. I mean, even He was obviously disappointing to you as a but by the end of the movie, did you not feel the same way?
I didn't feel that way. I felt like they tarnished him too much.
Really?
Yeah, he was just pissed off old hermit, and it was just and I was like, he was the one who was supposed to not run away. Obi-Wan, disappeared onto a planet. Yoda disappeared onto a planet.
So you would have liked to have seen him become maybe a little more just
a mentor at least.
Okay, and maybe more right off the bat.
Yo, you got this girl who doesn't know what the hell she's doing, where she comes from. She's kind of like you when you were younger, and so many other people who, almost like going through puberty.
He should have related, right?
He could have related, and I felt like he should have personally the Luke that was in my mind. Maybe he didn't want to fight because he's a pacifist, but maybe he would have guided her.
Okay, I think that's definitely fair criticism, but at the same time, I do, for me, and maybe it's just personally, because Star Wars has always been a means for me to go into. These movies always seem to come at the right time in my life and offer me the right lesson, And Luke was very much what you were talking about. What you said, he was immaculate. He was the hero, but in a lot of ways, we're all the heroes of our own stories, and this year has been kind of it's been a sad year for a lot of people. It hasn't been the best year for me, just personally.
For sure.
And I needed this theme of failure and of not doing well for a little bit and having to get yourself out of that, and that failure being part of the process. So again, I don't know if that's just me, projecting my own, what I needed on out of the film, but that's what Star Wars has always been. So I think that's fair. But I loved that from him. I loved that he was a little broken and that he had to get himself back up, and that it took, because he went through something gnarly. It wasn't like he was just being salty. I think that him raising his nephew and seeing that happen was probably pretty bad. Now we can talk about, him trying to kill Kylo. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that aspect of the character.
Yeah.
But I do like seeing a broken Luke, and I like seeing him come back. How about you, Alex? How do you feel about Luke in this movie, or do you have anything to add or respond to what we said?
Oh, I totally agree that the first time I came out of the theater, I was I didn't know what to think. And I would encourage you to see it a second time, only because every time I've seen it again, I've liked it more and more.
Sure.
Still, I probably wouldn't put it in my top half of Star Wars movies, just because. Wow. They didn't. The other ones make me feel something different that this one didn't give me, but on the other hand, I think that this one has made me think about just Star Wars and myself and the world a lot more than any of the other ones did.
Love that. I love that.
This isn't mindless entertainment, and it's challenging. So
yeah,
I don't know that it succeeded in every level, but for Luke, I guess just people get jaded. I mean, in Return of the Jedi, he was 23, and then 30 years later, stuff happens.
Yeah.
So people who were once hopeful don't always stay that way, and I get annoyed. I guess not annoyed, but I guess I don't understand people that think that Luke igniting his green lightsaber is character assassination, because, as he says, it was a moment of pure instinct.
Mm-hmm.
He was delving into this dark mind. It probably affected him in some way, where it just a moment of instinct, he ignited it and immediately was
Changed his mind.
No, I don't. Yeah, he didn't want to kill Ben. It was just he's gonna do some really bad stuff, maybe. I really like Rey's message that his mistake was assuming that Kylo's choice had been made. But in that moment of pure instinct, he lit his lightsaber and immediately was oh, no, I absolutely don't want to do this, but it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
That little second was all it took. But people are acting like Luke wanted to kill Ben and tried to kill Ben when that just didn't happen.
No.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I think I like the fact that he, definitely came right back out of it. I mean, he ignited the lightsaber, and in both of those counts, there's 3 different versions of that story in the movie. But in all of them, I believe he doesn't really last too much long in wanting to do it. It seems like Kylo kind of wakes up and immediately, rages. But let's transition to, you mentioned Rey, and I think going from Luke to Rey is good because obviously their arcs are very, very much connected. Rey, for me, just personally, she's such a perfect character. I have so little criticism about her and where she's going, and even just Daisy Ridley's such a fantastic actor, and every time she's on the screen, like I don't have anything but good things to say about her and her character. I love everything that happened with her in this movie. That's really it. I could go on and on about it. I really could. How about you, Guilla? What did you feel about Rey in this movie?
Rey, I thought she was good. I don't have anything bad to say about her because I don't really have much about her.
That's
you know
cool.
what I mean? Like, and I don't mean that like, you know, in a bad way, but I still don't.
Okay,
they still haven't given us much.
Okay, all right. So maybe that's some more fair things to
like,
get into, like her lineage and stuff like that.
It's not. I'm not mad that a lot of people are upset because we don't know her lineage or anything like that. But really, she didn't even have that. She did have on time screen, but she hasn't had that much on time screen. You know what I mean? And like, I still don't. I'm still on the fence of like, who is she? You know, what is she really about? You know.
So you need more from her.
I do need more from her.
How about you, Alex? How do you feel about Rey in this movie?
I liked her. Pretty much when I came out, what I knew that I really loved about The Last Jedi was everything with Rey and Luke and Kylo and Snoke.
Yeah.
I was on board with all of that. And then the Leia, Finn, Rose, Poe stuff, I was less a fan of. But, I mean, even then on my first viewing, I was confused by, like, the Luke stuff. But I knew, like, Rey and Kylo... force timing I thought was wonderful.
Timing, that is amazing.
I think Mitch Dyer said that on Twitter. He wrote Battlefront 2 and I was
that is genius. All right, so we're going to pick right back up. Just everybody who's watching, there's going to be a little break in the video, and that's because we had some power issues, and that happens in the real world. This isn't Star Wars. Because normally when that happens in Star Wars, it's like a sabotage by some rebel. But no, this was just Comcast, who's arguably just as evil as in the Empire. Okay, we'll move on.
Does he have an Instagram?
What's that? Does he? Yeah, he has an Instagram.
Dude, what?
Star Wars Explained should be the Instagram. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our next character because that's what we're doing. We were doing some character breakdowns. We talked about Rey. We talked about Luke. Now we're gonna move on to the kind of the counterparts of them. Not really, but in this story a little bit. And that is going to be Kylo Ren and Supreme Leader Snoke. So we'll start with Kylo. And I'll just start out with Kylo Ren. I think you said this a little bit earlier, Alex, but Kylo's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I think the level of conflict and complexity in his character is kind of unparalleled, and maybe what they wanted us to feel and understand with Anakin in the prequel trilogy, but just executed in a way more emotional and understandable and relatable way. How do you feel about Kylo? I know you said he's one of your favorite characters too, but just, you know, getting a little more into that. Kylo in The Last Jedi, how was he for you?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I kind of feel like he was Anakin as he should have been. I love his little temper tantrums. I really like the progression of where he was in The Force Awakens to now, like that he was just straight up wearing that mask to be a Darth Vader wannabe, and then he got over that and he smashed it up. Yeah. Now he's like kind of coming out of his grandfather's shadow, and he's going to be his own person. Yeah, I love Kylo Ren.
I will say this though. Okay, yes, he might have been what Anakin's supposed to be, but it was too comedic for me, like his character.
Oh, really?
Like how, like when he was having the temper tantrums and stuff, like there was no seriousness behind it. Like it was more like a chuckle, like that was funny. You know what I mean? Like
I definitely heard some laughs in the theater when he was like, "You would be." Yeah. Or what is he when he was like, "I'm sorry" or something like that. He's like, "Of course you are." What did he say? I don't remember the line, but
it was funny.
It was the delivery was a little funny.
I mean, it was very Guardians of the Galaxy.
But are you forgetting how Hayden Christensen acted in the prequel trilogy?
I was like 13 when those came out, so those things are like
watch him act like a conflicted, angry young man, and then watch Adam Driver act like a conflicted, angry young man. I mean, it is like night and day, dude. Like really.
Anakin, Hayden Christensen.
There's a lot of reasons for that, maybe the script, but I agree with Alex, and I think that Kylo is like, I think just a way better executed version of that character. But I also agree with you in that there's some comedic. Sometimes it gets a little funny.
And I didn't enjoy that.
You did not enjoy that.
If I want to see, I mean, it's like, I didn't go to see a comedy.
Because there was a lot of comedic. That's a whole nother thing we can talk about too. But the comedic elements in this movie didn't hit for a lot of people. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's move on to Supreme Leader Snoke, a character that had a lot of hype. People thought they were going to see maybe more. Maybe I think some people even speculated we're going to get his entire backstory told in this movie through flashbacks, that we're going to find out everything. Really, we got nothing more than we already know, and he was taken out, and that's pretty much it. So me personally, I loved it. I think his purpose has been served. I was never really excited about him to begin with. I always felt like he felt like the Emperor in a very supplemental way. He just wasn't as interesting to me, although Andy Serkis is amazing and was really good in this movie. I think I love that he's gone now, and now that we have a Supreme Leader, we've got a new Supreme Leader, one that I actually know about and that I fear, and that I think the story wants me to be afraid of.
You disgust me.
Do I? I'm sorry. We'll get. Alex, I know you probably agree with me on some aspects. So before we get to the complete opposite viewpoint,
yes.
How do you feel about Snoke in this film?
Totally agree. I thought he was just kind of there in The Force Awakens. Like, he just seemed like generic evil bad guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was mystery surrounding him, but I just never thought that mystery was important, and I was surprised that so many people latched onto it, and that Snoke theories became such a big thing. So yeah, I having seen and heard every Snoke theory, that's part of the reason I cheered in the theater, was just like, yes, it was just so surprising. But I do think that it is important to learn who he is, where he came from, how he rose to power. I do think that we, especially diehard fans, should get to know that, and I think we will. I think we're going to get a book or something, maybe a movie. I doubt it, but I do think that they're going to fill in that gap. I just don't think that his origins mattered in
the grand
this
scheme
sequel trilogy at all. Yeah,
right. All right, Guilla, let's hear it.
Yeah, well, he already touched on the major points of like, yeah, well, like, you know, he was built up and like he assembled this massive fleet, and you know, there's only 400 rebels, and he's already like, you know, screwing things up in the whole galaxy, and like this guy's like, you know, obviously has, you know, is a very powerful character, you know what I mean? And you know, Star Wars has done this in the past also. I remember it's not canon, but like in the Knights of the Old Republic game, they were talking about a character who the entire force was like, everyone was like, he was almost like an Anakin. Like everyone was like, yeah, this guy has such a destiny.
Do you remember his name?
I can't remember his name.
Do you know who he's talking about, Alex?
And he got sucked into a turbine, and when he got sucked into the turbine, he destroyed an entire like, you know, Star Cruiser basically, and that was his destiny. And then he saved the galaxy because he got sucked into a turbine, not because he was powerful in the Force or, you know, but that was his destiny. He ended up fulfilling it, and it was just like they kind of felt like that with Snoke. Like, you know, he kind of guided.
Pause for a second. What happened, Julian?
It's memory card's full.
Guilla, what did you think about Snoke in this movie? I know you didn't really dig him. That was your boy. You had some expectations.
Well, I feel like, okay, so like me even bringing up what I don't like about him is gonna make the people who have already read what people are saying annoyed, because I agree with what everybody else is saying about Snoke, and it's like, yes, I wanted to know more about him. I wanted to know how he assembled the fleet, and I also didn't want him to get offed by the character I hate the most in the whole Star Wars franchise, which is Kylo, and I know that's your favorite. But I was like, man, I was like, Snoke, I was like, this guy seems like a badass. I was like, I can't wait, you know, to see, you know, more. I was really intrigued by him. You and I used to send back and forth the theories.
We did.
We used to, a lot of them.
But remember, my theories always stayed the same. And then I thought that he was nobody. I said I thought that he was brand new, and then he came from Outer Rim, and that he was nobody.
That's cool.
And people were saying he was fucking Mace Windu and all this ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just ridiculous stuff.
Let's be real. If it was Mace, that would have been kind of corny.
It would have been awful.
It would have been awful.
It would have been, just a terrible turn.
It would have been horrible.
So I was not down with him being anybody that we knew about. But I do understand with you having expectations and being
give me my expectations.
Disappointed.
It's kind of like when you have like a like
they did build up those expectations
They did.
a lot in The Force Awakens, and this movie felt like that to me. Was a lot. There was a lot of seeds planted, and in this film they didn't.
And then Kylo just moves his finger like,
takes him out.
And that was funny. That did make me laugh.
I think he got outsmarted. I don't know. I like that he's.
But
gone.
he didn't see that coming.
I don't think he did.
Jesus
He was
Christ.
caught up in his own rage, talking to him, thinking he was misconstruing Kylo's rage for him for Rey.
Yeah.
And that's how I interpreted it. But
That's a cool way to interpret it. I didn't even think about that. That's amazing.
That's exactly what happened. He says, like, where I once sensed conflict, I now sense resolve. Where I once sensed blah, blah. Like, everything he's saying is about what Kylo is feeling towards Snoke in that moment.
That was
Like,
very
I can
Sith-ish.
I see you. I see you turning the lightsaber to your enemy.
yeah.
Well, that was
And
very,
he's turning both lightsabers at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
True.
very cool.
I would say that was very Sith-ish, wasn't it? Like, even though they're not Sith.
Took out his master. That's
out
the
his
most.
master.
That's the most. That's what they do. That's
I was
what
like,
they do, man.
okay, cool.
So I don't know why it surprised people.
Yeah.
Moving on to a character that I know that you're going to agree with me, Alex, just because I've heard you talk about this a lot. Captain Phasma. This is a character that I really like. This character, man. I was so excited to see something out of this character. I read the Phasma book. It was great. Even when they released Phasma in Battlefront, I was like, let's do it. Was super excited. Then the movie came out, and I got about 5 minutes of screen time, and she was killed off, and I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
I thought it was such a missed opportunity for such a cool character. Not only a character, but an actress. Gwendolyn Christie was just so underutilized.
Yeah.
She has such her stunt work is insane. And I remember her even saying, this is some of the hardest stunt work I've ever done. And I was like, really? I didn't get that impression at all. It felt like it was such an underutilized, wasted character. And I was so bummed out.
Yeah.
So bummed out. So how do you, go ahead.
I think I feel about Phasma the way a lot of people feel about Snoke, where I feel like Phasma was built up a lot more intentionally.
Yes.
Like, I think The Force Awakens like planted little seeds of mystery around Snoke, and people went and ran with that. Phasma got a book and a comic. Like, they invested so much time into her and fixing her actions in The Force Awakens. Like, Delilah Dawson said that Lucasfilm basically said, we want you to fix Phasma. And it made it sound like, okay, Phasma's going to get a ton to do, and people have to buy that she is this hard badass, like, despite what she did in The Force Awakens. So they turned all that around. They did the book. They did the comic. I was like, yeah, she's great. Like, I'm ready to see what she does in The Last Jedi. And it was nothing. And that felt like a betrayal to me.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I would have read both the book and the comic anyway, but what was the point?
Yeah.
If that's what you were building to.
Yeah, and I wonder if that was intentional. Like, it almost seems like there was some things like that were intentional, like to hype up certain things, or certain arcs that were teased that didn't really go anywhere. And I'm going to ask you about the Knights of Ren a little later, but that's one of the things as well. But how do you feel about Phasma, Guilla? Do you agree with everything they're saying?
I feel like they forgot about her.
Just forgot about her?
And I think they should have cut, the movie was already long.
Apparently they cut a lot out.
And they should have cut the casino scene by like another 15 minutes and had Phasma on screen doing something bad, being a badass. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
That I agree. Like, I remember just like, oh, okay, cool, Phasma's on screen. This is about to be tight. And I was like, damn, that was short-lived.
There's kind of even an opportunity for her to have gone to Canto Bite. Like, you could argue.
Yeah, I had people suggest that to me, and I was like, that makes so much sense.
That would have been cool.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been super Boba Fettish. She's going after him at Canto Bite. The arcs are still tied up. I mean, that would have made perfect sense. It just, again, wasted opportunities. It seems very interesting that they went that route. Question, and to both of you, do you think they did that? And I brought up it being intentional. Do you think they did that because we could perhaps see her return, or do you both think that she is dead?
I think she's dead. I kind of feel like, it could become a running joke where like she just keeps getting taken out. But to me, like, you're not going to get me excited about her again. Like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Like,
I'm good now.
Like,
Yeah.
if she is in the trailer for episode 9, I'm going to be like, who cares?
Just gonna give it up right from the beginning. Do you agree with him? You think she's dead
absolutely.
as well?
Yeah, she should be dead. They need to like finish her.
Let's move on from that.
Move
right?
on from her.
Yeah. So our last two characters, and we can kind of talk them at the same time, although it's maybe not entirely fair, but just for time's sake, we can do it. Rose and Finn. Their arcs were so tied up that I think it is kind of fair to be able to talk about them at the same time.
Yeah.
And we've kind of touched on it by talking about the Canto Bight scene. But I really actually do like the character of Rose. I don't think that I like the idea of her being, I think she was a mechanic for her sister's ship.
Yeah.
And I like that. I don't know. I like that she's just kind of a regular person that really looks up to these heroes, and that she was kind of the catalyst for the hero becoming the hero that he wasn't. Again, the execution did not like, but in terms of her character, I welcome her to the Star Wars universe. Like I'm down. I think she's really cool. I see room for growth. I'm not too into her saving Finn's life. I would have actually liked Finn to die there, like when it was happening. And I think you said this as well, Alex. I was like, oh, cool. This is a great ending to the character. Like he's going to redeem himself, help them out.
Yep.
I really liked that. And then she, swooped in and pushed him aside. And I was a little disappointed. But that's how I feel about those two in general. I love Finn. I think Finn's great. How do you feel, Alex? How do you feel about those two characters, or one, however you want to cover it?
Yeah, I agree that I was kind of hoping that Finn was going to die in that moment. I don't mind Rose. I kind of feel like she's almost like the other woman because my favorite part about The Force Awakens is when Finn and Poe meet. Like, their escape from the Star Destroyer, I loved it. So I was really kind of hoping to see more of them together, and now it's like Rose kind of steps in and takes Poe's place. But I know why, and it's because the story they were trying to tell for Finn, he needed to be challenged by someone, and I don't think Poe would have challenged him the way that Rose did. I just was hoping to see the two of them on screen together more because I thought they were so much fun in The Force Awakens.
I hope we get more of that because I feel like they're kind of setting up more Poe and Rey to be together with their meeting at the end. Or maybe just all three of them. But I really I agree with you.
I'd like to see all three of them do something together.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of fan art of Kylo and Rey, and it's been ticking me off. I'm just going
to get as a couple?
Oh, yeah.
They were definitely teasing it for a while, and it felt like it was going that way. Yeah. But so how about you, Guilla? Were you fans of Rose?
Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah, you dug.
Rose and Finn were cool.
You dug them.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I just don't think there's really very many cool characters in this Star Wars universe right now.
Oh my god!
Come on, man. Mace Windu, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn was a badass.
So you honestly think that Qui-Gon Jinn is cooler than Kylo Ren?
Hell yes.
Really?
By a long shot. Qui-Gon Jinn was.
I think we're just gonna have to strongly disagree. How do you feel about that, Alex?
I mean, I like Qui-Gon Jinn a lot.
Me too.
I like Kylo more.
Man,
there's so much more to that character.
Kylo is my least favorite character in the Star Wars universe.
I'm just think you're a crazy person. I don't even understand.
I think it's funny how separated you two are in your opinions. That's just great.
This is why we're friends, apparently. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. So I want to get although it's probably obvious, but maybe just some overall opinions of the film. Obviously, I loved it. I think I have there were things I would have changed for sure. But there are way more things I would have changed about the prequel trilogy. And frankly, there's even things I would change about the original trilogy. But overall, I love this movie, and it got me so excited for episode 9. I think it did a good job of also wrapped up at the end. It didn't end us on a cliffhanger, which I thought was kind of cool for once. But yeah, I'm excited. I liked this movie. How about you, Gil? What was your overall opinion? You just hated it? It was dog shit?
I need to watch it again.
You need to see it again. I would agree.
You'll both watched it multiple times, and you'll say it gets better each time. So I'm going to watch it one more time. But right now, it is number 8 out of 8.
Wow.
9. It's actually number 9 because actually Rogue One was ridiculously good. So I'm gonna
go. You Last Jedi is at the bottom of the barrel for you.
Very bottom by far.
Wow.
Huge margin.
Wow, you are.
Episode 1 is probably It's probably 7 or 8.
Okay. Wow. Well, okay. I know there's some viewers out there that agree with you completely, so I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'm going to strongly disagree with you. Absolutely.
I'm going to say, halfway through the movie, my hand was on my jaw.
Oh, no.
I was like, okay, what is going on here? What have we done?
Alex, overall opinion, I mean, of the film?
I'm like in the middle. I liked it. I didn't love it. I think in the long run, it's going to be very important for Star Wars. Just the way that this new path that it set things down on, but it is a hard thing to start. I think I would probably place it 5th. I currently have it kind of tied for Rogue One with me. I really loved the action scenes of Rogue One, but I didn't really connect with any of the characters. So, and it's almost the opposite for me in The Last Jedi. Like, half the characters I really connected with and half of them I didn't. And then some of the action was great and some of the plot didn't really connect with me. So it's like it almost has the opposite effect as Rogue One, but they're kind of tied for 5th.
Interesting.
For me right now.
So just real quick, what are some future speculation? What do you guys have for the future of what do you think happens in episode 9? Just overall, I mean, I know that's a huge question, but if you can just give me a quick little rundown, first starting with you, Guilla. What do you think to see out of episode 9? If you're even gonna see it at this point, you might have just tapped out of Star Wars. It seems like.
I honestly haven't put much thought into it.
No?
Into actual what's gonna happen in 9, but I hope that Kylo doesn't redeem himself.
You're not looking forward to a redemption arc.
I don't want Kylo to redeem himself.
I don't see that coming.
I hope not. I hope that because first off, well, we don't really know if he really. One thing I did like that they did in the movie, I will say this that I loved, is when he did not kill his mother. That I thought was fantastic.
That was a nice touch.
That was one of the only things I liked about him. But he did off his dad.
Yeah, you don't like that shit.
I didn't like that, and I think that he needs to die.
Cool. So you want to see him just kind of get?
I want to see Snoke come back.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not done with Snoke.
Okay.
I still have expectations of this guy. Come on,
man. Right,
a lot of viewers I know are probably gonna be like, "This guy, what the hell is he talking about?" But yo, like seriously, like
you liked him. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of Star Wars, man.
Yeah.
How about you, Alex? What do you see at episode 9? Maybe big plot points.
I just will say first that it's okay if you want Snoke to come back. Like, there are plenty of people that want that to happen.
Absolutely.
I don't think it will, but there are, like, I think the fandom is kind of split down the middle on that issue.
Okay.
But as for what's going to happen, I have no idea. I agree.
Right.
I don't want Kylo to be redeemed. I don't want that to happen. I think that it's possible because, I mean, kind of the point of the first trilogy was that anyone can be redeemed, but I just don't think they'll do that again. See, I don't know. Like, this almost felt like the end of a trilogy.
Yeah, they did a good job.
The end of the middle. I don't know what they're going to do. I
totally agree. Yeah, because that's what I mentioned earlier. That's when I said they kind of wrapped it up in a way. When I left, I was like, well, what's going to happen next? Like, I don't. First of all, there's not that many rebels. Like, I guess they are the rebels again now.
Yeah.
And there's not that many of them, and it just seems like it's not really in their favor. So, just from a plot perspective, I'm like, well, how are they going to get out of this one? It seems like we're going to have to see a lot of maybe, hopefully, some of those Outer Rim. What I would expect is a time jump. For sure. I think it can probably confirm. So. Yeah, confirm that we'll see a time jump. Maybe a little more specific speculation here, but what do you guys see or to happening to Princess Leia or to General Leia?
Do we have to talk about this?
Now that we know she's not in the movie and that we know her character is still alive. How do you see them playing out her not being in the film at all? Do you see it being done via time jump, off screen? Or maybe, and they've already said we're not going to see CGI. I don't really know what other options there are.
Maybe Luke comes in and invites her to become a part of the Force and figures a way of that or something. I don't know.
What do you think, Alex? What do you think we see out of Leia?
My guess for now is that they're not going to kill her and she'll just be elsewhere. She could be out, gathering support for the rebellion or rebuilding a government or something. I think that she'll just have a plot that is separate from everyone else. But who knows?
Yeah.
If I could add on to that, in the first one, Han dies. The second one, Luke dies. The third one, from what I've
Was supposed to be her
was
film.
supposed to be hers.
Yeah,
So that's going to make it very interesting if she has no screen time.
There's definitely going to be a lot of changes to this movie, for sure. Or there were a lot of changes once she died. But for sure, I know that they have a plan, because there were a lot of opportunities for her to die in this movie, and they didn't take them. So I'm knowing that, I'm like, I think they have a pretty solid plan as to what's going to happen, because otherwise they would have reworked it, been like, look, we got to kill her here.
Maybe
and
a
this
Netflix,
makes sense.
like cartoon or something.
A Netflix cartoon, just
they
filling
did
it out.
you remember they did that, the Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars
tight.
was fantastic.
Sick.
Yeah, it was excellent. But we'll see. Obviously, this movie left a lot open. There's, I think, speculation is probably even wilder now than it's ever been in terms of what's going to happen. Yeah, I mean, it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. It's really that simple. And I'll also add that no one hates Star Wars as much as Star Wars fans. It seems like that's totally the truest statement in the world.
Absolutely.
Alex, anything you want to add, man, before I let you go? I've taken up a lot of your time.
No worries. No, I think we covered it all.
Thank you so much for sitting in with us. And you know what? Actually, I have one more question. I totally forgot.
Okay.
Knights of Ren, where are they at?
I think, okay, here's my crazy theory. I think that maybe they became the Praetorian Guard.
Yeah. Man, why wouldn't they tell us that?
Dead.
Why would they tell? That's. So you think that's it? Like, you don't know that we'll get any kind of... Could they pop in? Maybe in episode 9, he brings them and now he needs them?
I'd love to see more of them. I think that what JJ did in The Force Awakens was kind of... Like, if you watch A New Hope, they talk about the Clone Wars and the Jedi and, like, all this stuff that we don't know about. The Clone Wars doesn't come back again until the prequels. So, like, it's just that it's this kind of world-building thing. But I do, like, JJ went with some very specific things and then even showed them on screen. So it does feel like things that should be back. But I think the answer is to just be patient. We'll find out eventually.
Yeah, that's a better answer than I came up with. I was probably thinking they were going to swoop back in, but we don't know. There's so much speculation in this universe that sometimes it's not even fun. I stress myself out trying to figure out what's going on. Listen, man, you are amazing. Everybody, please check out Star Wars Explained on YouTube. You are number one for me in terms of knowledge, and also just your ability to speak and work through these things and explain them very clearly and concisely is just second to none. And I don't know. It's an honor to have you on, man, to talk to you again. It was a lot of fun, and just thank you so much, man. You're amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, dude. I'll talk to you soon, and let's keep in touch. And I'm sure we're going to do this, if not before episode 9, at some point. We'll definitely do another breakdown after episode 9, because now we got it. Now it's a tradition, apparently.
Yeah.
Tight.
All right, man. I will talk to you soon, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.
Bye.
He's a great guy. Everybody check him out. I'm a huge fan of his work. I probably watch his YouTube more than anybody. This has been a very, very stressful breakdown. We've had a roach come out of the curtain, crawl across the table, lights turn off, cable. I mean, this has been crazy. I've never had... It's like we're being hit with, like, the 7 plagues or some shit in the middle. Like, what is this? We've never had this many issues. Are we going to get locusts flying through the windows? Like...
Yeah. Is it raining blood outside?
Look at that. Children of the Sun.
Yeah. Would you look at that? That's pretty tight.
I love how that worked out.
Yeah.
You just open a curtain and your poster is behind it.
Let's
That's
go,
it, man.
baby. Let's go.
You doing okay?
Yeah, high five on that.
That was fun.
It was, yeah, that was awesome.
We're going to have you on again very soon for a regular episode of Dead Dialect.
Let's go,
We'll kick
please.
it back up, but I had to have you on this.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you waiting for me to get this. This was awesome. I actually had a great time, man.
I'm sorry if we just trumped you with opinions.
It felt pretty cool because I felt like he was actually down the middle. He was like...
A little more than I expected, too, actually.
You were like the light side of the Force. I was like the dark side. And he was like, he was kind of the gray. You know
I dig it. Yeah, he's a great guy. And thanks to him again. Everybody, check out Star Wars Explained on YouTube. Check out Guilla. What is it? Guilla 713?
Guilla 713.
On Instagram, Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You're releasing new music on Saturday.
Yep.
It'll probably be out by the time this is out.
Yep.
Either way, if you live in Houston, you know this guy. And if you watch and love Star Wars. You know Alex. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Alex. Dead Dialect, all that good stuff. Subscribe, like, share. We need it. It's algorithm based. We don't get paid otherwise, and we don't get paid anyway. So let's do it, guys. Thank you so much. Boom.